Hello and welcome to That's So Craven, your one-stop shop for all things Fulham. This is Dave and this is After Dark. We're streaming live on X, YouTube and Facebook apparently, according to the icon in the top right-hand corner of my screen. So Facebook followers, apologies, we've not recognised you to date, but we appreciate you and we hope you're there in your thousands. This is Dave and tonight we're going to be looking at Tuesday night's loss to Arsenal, and we're going to be picking that one apart. And we'll also be looking ahead to this Sunday's game against Liverpool and looking at the opportunities Fulham might have to maybe get some sort of result on Sunday. Before we start, anyone that's following along or listening, just please send us in your questions. We're going to do a couple of questions we've received at the end, and any more that come out, we'll either address them as they come in or we'll pick them up at the end. We'll do our best. So, please fire away. Joining me tonight, as always, is the Thursday night MVP. It's Fulham legend, Mary Southgate. And Mary, while I've got no desire at all to talk about Crystal Palace last Saturday, it was a pleasure to finally meet you in person.
Yeah, that was so fun. I feel like, okay, the result didn't go too well, but it was so fun to hang out beforehand, see Skippy as well, and also shout out to Steve Reynolds because I bumped into him, which was so fun as well. So, yeah, it was a really good pre-match and I enjoyed our hangout.
Yeah,
Good being
the best
both
bit.
fans.
The best bit of the day, wasn't it?
Luckily, we was in like a sunny spot. We had quite a nice little area actually, just at the end of the hammy end.
Yeah, we were at the corner between the Hammersmith end and the Riverside, and it was packed, but it was a good atmosphere. So that was great before the game. Actually, as I said, it was all downhill from there. But yeah, we move on. We're also joined tonight by someone who I actually haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, so we've got to put that right. But he's a very familiar voice and a familiar face, particularly if you caught up with Sunday's excellent post-Palace podcast. Came out on Sunday. So if you haven't heard that, go check it out. And it's a man whose surname I haven't heard pronounced yet, so I'm not even going to give it a go. It's Mark. How you doing, Mark?
I'm very well, Dave. Thanks. It's a Polish surname, which means there's a number of consonants in pretty much random order. So we don't need to go into that. That's fine. Cool. But yeah, I have a little liquid courage to help me out today, so that's good. We got, if Paul Lanner wants to sponsor us, we've got that here today. But happy to be joining the Poms instead of the Aussies on this episode.
Yeah, there you go. Well, other beers are available. But yes, Mark is definitely represented tonight. Unfortunately, I've come up short. I haven't had the time to buy any beers in today. So Mark and Mary, you guys are going to have to, just do it the
We'll hold the fort. We'll hold the fort. You had some before the Palace match quite enjoyably. So we'll let you off tonight.
I was double parked before the Palace match.
I think that's the first thing I said to
you. Yeah, very hard to hug someone when you've got two beers. That's the tricky dilemma I had that day. But okay, so we're not going to talk about Palace. We've done Palace to death. We need to move on. I think let's talk about Arsenal. It's not much better than talking about Palace, but it's marginally better in the fact that we managed to score a goal. So let's start there. But look, first half was poor game. I mean, our XG was 0.03, and we're going to have to talk about the first half. But Mark, before we do, 5 at the back, yay or nay?
Let me give a overly convoluted answer. The short answer is nay, but the long answer is I'm glad we tried. We give Marco a lot of stick for being kind of one-dimensional. We can touch on that a little bit later as well with the way he attacks and sort of his preferred setup. It worked once against Chelsea. I think perhaps that was a red herring. So we've tried it out a few more times. I can understand the mentality behind it, especially when we're going to be attacked away from home. And we've seen other teams do it to great success, right? We look at Palace and their recent run. We look at Forest, who are comfortably third now. So before there was, myself included, talk of, well, can they maintain that Champions League spot? it's almost a certainty now. But yeah, it's not for us, and I think we saw why in terms of our attacking prowess.
Yeah, and Mary, yay or nay to 5 at the back?
Yeah, do you know what? It surprised me to start with when I looked at the team sheet. I hadn't even really considered that we might do that. But I'm here for it for how he did it, because I think the mindset behind it was probably just to like keep them out for as long as possible. We sat quite deep, to be fair. I don't think he would have wanted us to sit quite that deep, but I think like we did restrict them quite a bit with like how many chances they could have. They did have a few. Leno made some good saves in the first half, but we try. I think the mindset behind it would have been to try and restrict them, counter attack. We did have a good counter attacking chance, a few of them to be fair, but we had one I think in the first half. I think it got cut out about halfway with Adama travelling with the ball, but yeah, I think I wasn't opposed to it at all, actually. I think it was a good idea. And it also meant that Bassi could have a rest because we brought in Cuenca and Diop. Obviously, could have done that, given him a rest with 4 at the back as well. But yeah, I didn't mind it at all. And then what I like is it gives us the option to change and become quite like aggressive in our attack. And rather than being in the same formation the whole time, that change makes Arsenal have to think. And I don't think they would have been expecting us to start with 5 at the back. So by doing that, I think it probably mixed it up for them. Okay, they obviously did win. But it took a deflected goal for them to actually go 1-0 up. So yes, we've lost, but actually 2 avoidable goals.
Yeah,
if we're honest. But yeah, that's my view on that one.
You're right. That is true. We did both of the goals certainly avoidable. One quite fortunate, the one that deflected in, definitely. So I think the problem I've got with the 5 at the back is 2 things really. I think one is we don't really have the fullbacks to play it. So when you watch Palace playing 5 at the back, when they're attacking, their fullbacks are playing like wingers. Whereas ours don't seem to be doing that. So we like to kind of bring the ball out from deep, and that works better in a 4. So I think Robinson's carrying an injury. That's what really surprised me when the lineup, because like Mary, I also thought it was going to be 5 at the back, but I thought he'd play Cess and give Robinson a rest, right? Robinson's just missed the USA fixtures in the international break because of a knee injury. So he's clearly something he's managing. So I thought, well, he's played on the Saturday. Likelihood, why not give him a rest on the Tuesday? You know, you've got Sessegnon who can come in and play left wing back as he did against Wolves. And actually, if you're going to play Cuenca, you could also play Bassi left back if you really wanted to. So I thought that was really strange. Like, why aren't we giving him a rest and helping manage his injuries? I thought that was a really odd decision. But I was pleased that Iwobi got a rest because I think he needs it. He's been overplayed for sure. And yeah, other than that, there wasn't too many surprises, I don't think. But I just don't think I think we just got pinned back a little bit too often, and we don't have enough of an attacking threat with 5 at the back. Just don't think we got the personnel on the wing backs to do that. Is my view on it. And yeah, look, you know, that first half, I mean, there was very little to talk about in terms of attacking play, wasn't there, Mark? It was, as Mary said, a couple of times we broke and got intercepted, but there's no real chances to speak of, right?
No, it was pretty dire, but I think that's what we can expect, and to an extent, I think we've been figured out, haven't we? We love to attack from the left. To your point on why Robinson wasn't rested, I think he's just a big part of how Marco sees us progressing the ball forward. But playing him through an injury, and we'll touch on this a little bit later when we look at Liverpool, but we're going to need him. But at the same time, he's not going to be the same Robinson pre-injury, right? So it's going to be pretty worrying to see how we contain their wingers there. But yeah, I agree. First half pretty dire, but second half happy to move on to that. Yeah, that was a little bit better.
Was a little bit better. Pretty much from when the subs came on, right? Although we did have a couple of kind of half chances, if I recall, at the start of the second half. Mary, what was your view? You know, I think something did change at half time, and it got, I know we conceded, but it got marginally better as the half went on.
Yeah, definitely. Second half, definitely the better half, as you said. But I do think the subs made such a change. Bringing like Willian, Cess, I know they all came in like two different subs, I suppose, two different batches, but bringing them on made such a difference. And it just, obviously, we changed formation then as well. It just meant we could step up a bit higher. I think first half we were just so deep, which credit to Arsenal, they pushed us back. So they made it difficult for us. But yeah, second half was improved. We created more chances. There was one with, I think there was one confusion with like Adama and Jimenez, where I think Adama crossed it in / shot. I'm not really sure which one it was. And Jimenez didn't quite get on the end of it, which was a shame. But that chance came. I think Cess had a chance as well. And then the Muniz header, if that had gone in, I mean, he went and got a goal, so fair play. And he bounced back straight away from that. But I can imagine he was gutted. Because I would have really fancied us to go and get a draw. And do you know what? Even with 2 minutes to go, I was like, Arsenal will be worried here. Like, we can push on. But if we'd got that header, not to make Muniz feel bad, but it would have changed the game even more.
Yeah, it was a howler. Awobi's put another fantastic ball into the box, and it's just one of those, hit the target, it's a goal, and he's just got it wrong. And you're right, I think he reacted well from it. I don't think it particularly hurt his confidence. Like, I think he kept pushing after that, and to get a goal after you've missed such a big chance, I think is like a testament to, I suppose, your mentality. You could hide away and feel sorry for yourself and no, it's not going for me tonight. But I think I didn't see that reaction from Muniz, and I think that's maybe a little sign of him maturing a little bit. Mark, what did you make of that miss?
Yeah, that was pretty rough, wasn't it? But strikers have these moments, and Muniz is still pretty raw, right? He's like, I think he's 23, maybe 22, 23. Yeah. So he's got plenty of time to develop. I'm glad he got a goal and set things right. But yeah, in that position, you hope that we put it away. And like Mary said, it's a different game. So, maybe jumping ahead of ourselves here a little bit, but 1 or 2 smart additions in the summer transfer window, I think that elevates the whole team. Hopefully more service to Raul if and when he signs his extension. More service to Muniz, and then I think the goals will come after that. So really glad he got his goal in the end. But yeah. A little earlier than the 94th would have been nice.
Yeah. I just want to touch on the point Claire's just made in the chat around Timothy Castagna. And, mentioning how he was getting kind of roasted every time by Martinelli down the left. Certainly in the first half, I thought that was, a big issue for us. And as I said, I first of all, I don't think he's particularly suited to playing wing back, but he's also feels like he's been struggling for a little while now. Do you think that, obviously we were trying to get someone in on deadline day to cover Kenny Tete's injury. Do you think that's cost us, in the interim period? I'll throw that out to whoever has an opinion.
I'll say definitely not having cover there is massive. Like, the fatigue he must be feeling, like we're saying Iwobi as well is fatigue, but Castagna it's so constant, and it's so can't think of the word, but it's just so repetitive for him, and he was getting roasted down that side, and I think he's probably been found out a little bit over the last month or two. And teams, obviously, we said before, they know that we are stronger on our left side and like defensively with Robbo's side. But yeah, I think he's probably fatigued, and not having cover there is just, I don't even know what. I mean, we could try a few different players there maybe, but on the whole, we don't really have anyone to go there, and it's a lot of pressure on him as well because we can't have him getting injured. But yeah, I think he was just getting done every time, really. Like, with the second goal came from Dan. I know the second goal came from Anderson's pass out, but they then broke down they played a ball in behind Castagna as well, and he just couldn't get there. So yeah, I think quite a fair few goals have come down that side this season, or the second half of the season. But I don't want to criticise him too much because he's had a really tough job.
Yeah, Mark, I think teams are starting to target that side of the defence now. I think they've kind of cottoned on to the fact that Castagna is just not quite at his best level. And I also am not sure he particularly works well with Anderson. I think he leaves, the kind of weaknesses in Castagna's game kind of expose Anderson a bit more than Tete's strengths, kind of overcome and help him. So I think it's been a bit of an issue, and I'm not sure what we do until Kenny comes back. It's just such a tricky one to try and sort out. Obviously, on Tuesday we put Diop in between them to try and put a bit more, a solid presence in there and help. But it didn't stop kind of Castagna, finding it hard to deal with their winger. I mean, have you noticed this? Am I overreacting? What's your view on it?
No, I think you're absolutely right, and I pretty much want to. Well, I echo all of Mary's points. Right, we don't want to rip on Castagna because I think the lad is trying, but he's just exhausted, and he's up against a supremely tricky and fast customer in Martinelli. So he was getting burnt over and over again, like Claire was saying. And you're right that they don't complement each other. If anything, they both lack pace, right? So we're being targeted on that right-hand side. I really wish we made more of an effort in the January transfer window. I know that we went out for some players. I know that ultimately the managers of those respective teams said no. But I think there's a point, and maybe this is the gamble we took, that you don't want to overspend. But there's a point where the money on the table is too good that the manager is overruled, right? So we basically didn't want to pay that money. We didn't want to pay silly money. We took the gamble that Castagna could hack it. He's doing his best. But I also reiterate that Kenny, fantastic one-on-one defender. There's a really cool clip of Neymar trying to get past him and doesn't. So that's what Kenny could do when he's on, right? But we don't know for a fact that's the Kenny we're getting back. I hope it is.
That's true. That's true. Yeah,
it's something to think about. Yeah,
it is. When Kenny was out last season and he came back in like the odd game, he looked like way behind like match sharpness. And
he got destroyed by Forest, if you remember. Was that the one where I think they scored 3 in the first half?
That's right. Yeah,
that was a tough match.
It was, and I am longing for Kenny Tete to come back, and I think he's quite close now. Partly because he's just, he's one of my favourite players, but also I just think it might be a way of, securing, improving basically that right hand side of the defence, giving Castagna a little break, and like I said at the start of the season with Anderson and Tete on that right side, Anderson looked better, so. I don't know if it gives him more confidence knowing that Tete's there. He's going to, block the winger, stop players getting in behind and exposing him. I just wonder if we're going to see a better Anderson when that happens. But, we'll come to Liverpool in a minute and talk about what perhaps the lineup might be. But I think it's just a good point to touch on. But back to the game.
I would agree with. I was just going to touch on that point that like relationships on the pitch are so important. And like I've always felt that, and I think if that's what we're seeing, like Anderson and Tete are better with each other, then I think we will see Anderson step up again when Tete's back. It's a bit like Willian, Muniz, and AP. Like they've got such a good relationship on the pitch, and it's so important. So yeah, I do think we'll see Anderson step up. It's a shame, like we've said, Castagna's absolutely putting a shift in. So it's a shame that Anderson isn't on the same level. And actually he should be helping Castagna to rise even more. But yeah, I think we'll see an improvement when Tete's back, but equally we've got to make sure our expectations of Tete are in the right place for someone that's been out for so long.
It's a very good point. You wouldn't want to rush him back in like half fit. That just leads to more issues. So yeah, good, well made.
Can I jump in with a quick question to you guys? Actually, to throw one out there. Would you entertain letting Castagna leave as well in summer if we got an offer for him.
Everyone's got a price, right? And my personal opinion is Tete is number one right back and Castagna is kind of backup, and he's a bit versatile too, so he can play left back as he has been doing for Belgium recently. So he's a good squad player. But I think if Kenny Tete was to sign a new contract and an offer came in for Castagna, then yeah, I'd probably, if it was a decent offer, the money that we paid for him or more, then you'd consider it, and I think we could probably replace if we, yeah, possibly. Well, I think.
Fair enough. Mary, thoughts?
Yeah, I think I would like to see him stay. I think he deserves, after the shift he's put in this season, I think he deserves to stay and keep developing with us. And we know that Silva's strong at developing players, like people that he's turned around, Robinson, Bassey. I think Smith Rowe will get there. Players that he's improving every season, and that's just with us. So yeah, I think Castagna is another one that can keep pushing on. He's still young, and hopefully, if Silva's still here, I would like to see Castagna stay. Like hypothetically, if that all happens, and I think he deserves to after the shift he put in. But
Yeah.
Tete would be my number one in that position.
Yeah, that's fair. So back to the game. We've talked about the miss that would have changed it, and it really would have. It would have been a goal at a great time. It would have made Arsenal nervous, and we could have taken the initiative. And given how we played away from home, especially against the big teams as well, we're a threat at the end of games. Chelsea, Newcastle come to mind. So you're right, it was a big moment, and unfortunately it didn't go our way. There's a few other chances after that. I thought Cess looked so bright. I thought he was excellent, just completely changed the game. And God, he's got to be given a chance. I think he's got to start. I think he's done enough to start, and I'd be really disappointed if he doesn't get an opportunity. I mean, just the last few times I've seen him, he looks super on form. He's contributing with goals and assists, and he just looks like the old Cess, actually. He looks like the Cess that we let go 5 years ago. He comes alive in the box. And I just think Marco's really got to give him a chance and, make sure that it's on the wing.
Yeah, 1000% agree. I mean, I'll put my hands up and I say I thought he was a sentimental signing, a vibe signing that we got on the free. But he's put a shift in. And he looks good. He looks hungry. He looks aggressive. And I think a player like that, especially his Tottenham moment, right? That lifts the team. When you see someone trying that hard and creating opportunities and going for it, you yourself become motivated. So I'm fully on board with that, Dave. He needs to start at Liverpool.
Yeah. So yeah, he created it. He changed the game, and we plugged away and got a goal. And as I said before, I think that was good for Muniz, for his confidence that he did get on the goal, the score sheet. Bit of a deflection, Mary, but it doesn't matter, does it?
It was, but equals it out, I suppose. But Cess, in that whole move, like the way he drove with that ball, no hesitation at all. He just drove with it. He cut in at the right time. And what I also liked is, I think there was the ball he played to Muniz cut through like three players. We were massively it was pretty much just Muniz and Cess on that side where he played to, and Muniz had a good 2, 3, 4 players in and around that area, and that ball that Cess played was perfectly weighted for Muniz to play it first time, and obviously it got a deflection, but he still was able to play it first time with Arsenal players all around him on target, and it came to a goal. And I think fair play to both of them. Really happy for Cess coming on and getting an assist straight away. I think, did he come on in just before the 80th minute maybe? Or I could be wrong with that. I know there was two different subs made, but he got an assist so early on. But it was how direct he was that I really liked, and he just drove with that ball. And like you said, he's really stepping up every game. He's showing and he's really pushing for that starting shirt. I'm not convinced we'll see him start on Sunday against Liverpool, which I know we'll get to, but I think he absolutely deserves a start soon in these like final run-in games. But yeah, credit to Muniz, the way he bounced back from missing that header. And yeah, he should have scored it, but he bounced back straight away. And then we sort of upped our level even more. I don't know if it gave us some belief that we thought, hang on, we can go and cause a threat here and be dangerous. But like, I think it's really important to recognise the fight that then, I know it was quite late in the game, but the fight that then came out of everybody. It was just late in the game. But like Claire's just said, Muniz loves scoring away at the big teams. This is true. He's grown in confidence as well, and I think that's one reason for it. He's big, but he scores in those moments we need him to.
So that's the Emirates, it's Anfield, it's Stamford Bridge, St James's Park, it's the Etihad.
Ticking them all off.
Mm-hmm.
It's an unbelievable record that. I was looking at some of his records actually after the game. That was his 10th goal of the season in all competition, which I think has gone a bit under the radar, really. That's starting to rack up now. His goals per 90 is just off the charts. You know, for the limited minutes he's played, I think he's averaging a goal every 110 minutes. So almost a goal a game. That's huge. You know, that's really, really huge. So, you know, he's certainly been, I think, he's been second choice really this majority of this season. So, but his numbers are just creeping up. Another one that's really interesting is headers won, right? So he's won more headers and he's played almost half the game time of Raul. He's won more headers than Raul. But his win percentage per 90 is second in the league only to the big lad up front at Southampton. Can't remember his name, but you probably know I'm talking about. Big fella up front for them, who just seems to win everything that they pump up there to him. But he's racking up some really good stats, and I think he's like pushing now. Him and Cesc must be pushing because they're the ones that are actually scoring the goals and contributing to goals from open play at the moment. And that's the positive I take from the game. That's the positive I take from Tuesday, is that those two look pretty sharp, and I just would like to see more of them in the remaining games. It would be my view.
Yeah, I agree. It would be good to keep adding them into it. I think the fact they've been coming on and been like quite impactful says a lot about them, their character, to be not put off by the fact they're a sub, but also Marco's decisions in subs. I think it's quite helpful. Sometimes it's quite powerful to bring. Well, we've got a really strong bench. We know that, and actually, whatever lineup we do, we've got players that can come on and add to it. And I think Marco, okay, again, like I said, we've left it quite late to get the equaliser, but the choices Marco made and bringing them on had a really powerful impact on the game. And so it's balancing, like, when do they start? When do they become an impact sub? And we know Jimenez isn't as impactful from the bench. So I think Marco has a lot of decisions around that. Like, when do I want Muniz to start? But when do I want Muniz to be the impact sub and the game changer? And I think they are quite big decisions. And I don't know if we always consider that the subs are so important.
Yeah, that's true. Muniz I think he's got the highest amount of goals off the bench this season from any Premier League team, and we've certainly scored the most off the bench. It's been a big plus for us. But yeah, I'd like us to start scoring more in the first half. It would,
that would be nice.
You know, and that's why I'm thinking it would be nice to see some of these guys that are kind of confident in the 18-yard box just getting a run of games. Really, is what I'd like to see. But,
and stop conceding just before half time.
Yeah.
I mean, if we could stop conceding, period, that would be pretty cool as well. But I think this season we assume that we need to at least score 2 to win.
Yeah, it does feel like that. Steve said let's talk ESR, but what I'm actually, and you know, ESR, pretty quiet game again. Andreas looked quite lively when he came on, I thought, to be fair to him. I quite like Andreas off the bench. I think he always looks lively off the bench. And But I guess it's just the disappointment for me is just where is Josh King? You know, he was getting opportunities back in January and he's just disappeared. And it's a good time to kind of give an opportunity when you've got kind of Andreas, who I think is very inconsistent at the moment, and you've got ESR, who's just not at the level. Give the guy a go, man, even off the bench. I don't get it. I'd love to see more of that. I mean, that was my major disappointment, really, but not seeing a bit more of Josh.
Yeah, I don't think have we seen him since Watford? Maybe briefly, I don't know. But he was so good during that Watford match that the Watford fans were saying we want him on loan. And similar attributes to Cesar Muniz in that he's hungry, he drives at you, he's very, very skillful. And we need more of that. I think our problem when I look at our defense, when I look at our attack, rather, is I think Silva gives the players too much agency in a weird way. Or for some reason, we're really good at getting to the final third, and then we stop and we look for the perfect pass. And those 2-3 seconds, that's when the defense resets. It's too late. When you look at when Palace scored their second goal, they didn't stop and look. They knew they knew exactly where their players should be. And if they miss, that's fine. They don't need to look up and check that person's in position. They just assume that person's in the position, they put the cross in, and then someone gets the ball in. I think we need to be doing more of that. And I think that's what someone like King and Cess and Muniz do. They play on instinct. And that just speeds up the game. When you speed up the game, you can't have a settled defense. So I'd like to see more of that.
We got to clip that. That was brilliant. I completely agree with all of that. Very well put, Mark. It's
the Polander speaking.
Yeah. I mean, Mary, what's your view? Would you like to see a bit more of King before the end of the year?
I would, but I wouldn't start him.
No.
And I know there's a lot of talk about getting Josh King in. I'd never start him, and I would like to see him on games that are not big teams. I just think we've seen him mostly in games where the other team aren't in the top 6 or something, and playing against an Arsenal, a Liverpool this weekend, Man City later in this season, they're very different games to if we're playing Southampton. We've got Bournemouth, Everton. They're very different caliber of oppositions, and I think for someone that's young and inexperienced in the men's first team, I would only really I can't see Silva putting him in against these Arsenal's, Liverpool's, City games. Only really the lower teams, let's say, which I completely understand because it is a very different jump up. And I know I'm sounding probably a bit negative here, but I just think it's balancing getting him in, but making sure he's got the right opportunity of opposition. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a great point. And you know, he could get kind of lost in these bigger games, and that might not be good for his development. It's a great point. I think there's some opportunities coming up though. We do have Southampton before the end of the season. You know, we've got Brentford and Bournemouth are in and around us. Maybe he gets a chance off the bench in those games would be great. But yeah, it's I guess the disappointment really is that the number 10 position, we're not getting what we need. And it's just a constant debate really about whether it's Andreas, ESR or someone else. And actually that brings me to the Liverpool game and the lineup for that one, because you know, I was thinking about this in the week, and I would like to go back to the 4 at the back for this one, just because I'm just worried about our ability to create chances really when it's a 5. And I just think Liverpool are just experts at getting through the low block. So it will be, we need to kind of cause them some problems and take the game to them. Is that the right thing to do? I think so. I mean, what's your view, Mary? Do you think it's right to take the game to Liverpool? Do you think you just have to sit back and wait for your chance?
I want to see 4 at the back, like you said. Absolutely want to see 4 at the back, especially at home as well. I don't think if we rock up at the Cottage on Sunday and we see 5 at the back, I just feel like as fans we're going to be a bit more really, we're at home, it's our stomping ground, let's take the game to them, like you say. So I do want to see that, and I think that is the thing to do, but I think we need to be cautious at times, and perhaps, like, I do think against Arsenal there was no problem with us sitting a little bit. I think we sat too deep, but I think we tried to restrict their chances, and we're going to need to do that against Liverpool. There's going to be times that we need to possess it, and there'll be times that we need to play quickly, and there'll be times we just need to sit in our block. But overall, yeah, I want to see a back four. I want to see us take the game to them. But I think we have got to be cautious at times. I mean, they score goals. They've got the most goals this season out of all the teams. I think they've got about 70 goals. So we need to be aware of that. We need to be aware of Salah, who scores for fun. He's like top goal scorer, top assists. So I absolutely want to take the game to them, but we've got to be aware of their threats, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think perhaps we could start strong and then get into our block. We just need to see how the game goes, but we've got to play with confidence and not be nervous. And I think I said when we had that really good run in December, what I liked was Marco didn't fear any team. We played our game against everybody, pretty much. I know we changed a bit with like formation with Chelsea, etc. But on the whole, we took our game. We didn't fear anyone. So I think we need to go in with that attitude, but be cautious of their threats, of course.
Yeah, for sure. Mark, what changes would you like to see for the game on Sunday? 2 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. What would you like to see Fulham line up?
Perhaps this is going a little heavy on the 4D chess, but I want Adama to start, specifically against Robertson. Right? I think that's their weak link. I think he's a little bit past it now. He's still a supremely talented player. But if we can get the long balls from Anderson that we've been talking about since we signed him to Adama over and over again, that's going to give him pause. So yes, we have to be defensively solid, but there's no point being defensively solid after we're already 1-0 or 2-0 down. So yeah, keep it tight for sure, but just always make them aware that we have a threat down the other side, not down our favored side, right? Because everyone's going to be aware of that at this point. And attack that side as well. I think that could be interesting. Hopefully Iwobi's had enough of a rest, so I wouldn't start Willian. I think Willian, he's great. He's great, but we need someone who tracks back as well and can help defend. I'm not saying Willian doesn't, but if we have a fit Iwobi, then let's bring him in. And I think just the standard lineup, though I would also start Muniz. I know we're probably going to start Raul and we're going to leave Cess until the last 15 minutes. I'd like to bring Cess on earlier, even though I know I just said he deserves a start. But in terms of the wings, Iwobi and Adama, and then the usual suspects for the rest of the squad, bar a Muniz start for me.
Interesting. Mary, would you agree, or were there any more changes you'd like to see?
No, I think we'll have usual back four. Iwobi and Adama, and I think they're, like you said, Iwobi's had a bit of rest now, and so's Bassi in the back. He's had the rest from international breaks, and Jimenez up top. I think the best thing to do will probably be bring on those three that we've said, like AP. I think we'll see ESR start. I think AP, Willian, and Muniz will just come on in mass and come and do their thing. I would love to see Willian start, but I don't think he will. I just love Willian, and I think he's a great player, but I don't think he'll start. I think it'll be Iwobi, Adama, and Jimenez up there with ESR just behind. And actually, as much as ESR's not maybe where we thought he would be at the moment, I think he links up better with Jimenez because they're both ball players on the floor a little bit more, whereas Muniz links up better with Willian and AP because that's like his combo that he's stronger with. So I think actually perhaps ESR can link up a bit more with Jimenez. We don't always see it, but they both play the ball on the floor a lot more and a lot more short, sharp passes, and they've got those ideas linking in behind, things like that. So I think it can work, but that's how I think we'll start.
I guess my worry would be playing a team like Liverpool is that if we do what we've been doing and we kind of keep Cess and Muniz, these impact players on the bench, it might be too late by the time we have to bring them on. We've not been defending particularly well, and they're a great side, so I would want to make some changes for this one. I don't expect there to. I think you guys are probably closer to what the team lineup will be, but I would like. I'd like us to make a few. I'm not sure what to do about the defence. I think you're right. It probably will be Anderson, Bassi, Castagna, and Robinson. But I do think that gives us a problem down the right hand side, whether it's Diaz or Gakpo that's going to be running at Castagna, and I don't know what to do about that. I don't know whether it's, do we bring Diop in, give Anderson a rest, and maybe that different personnel, might give us, a little bit more confidence. I don't know. We can't change Castagna because we don't have another right back, but I think it's going to be a problem. I'm not quite sure how to address it, but it may be a change of personnel for this one might, give Diop a go. I think it might be worth a go. In terms of the midfield, I'd like to see Iwobi get a chance in the 10, bring him inside. He's obviously very creative, and I just don't think we're getting enough from ESR, and I think AP's blowing too hot and cold. I'd like to see Iwobi play there, and the reason I'd like him to do that, not just because I think he can do that role, it's actually his preferred role according to him, but not only do I think he can do that role really well, it just opens up another wing position, and that would allow. I think give Cess a chance from the start. As I say, he's contributing with goals and assists. Let's back him and give him a game. Get him down at Robinson at right back. I'm not seeing a good form from Adama at the moment to tell me that he's going to have a massively impactful game on Sunday. So I'd like to see Cess, who's buzzing, get the chance. And on the left, tied, either Willian or potentially give ESR a go there. I still firmly believe ESR can do a job from that side, and I think all his best performances at Arsenal were when he was playing from left midfield. So at some point I'd like to see that, but maybe either him or Willian. And up front for me, it's got to be Muniz. I watched Liverpool's game last night and against Everton, and Beto just completely muscled them. Their back two. He was causing them all sorts of problems with his physicality, and he's getting him behind. And I think it'd be a big mistake to then give them a game against Jimenez. They'll find that a lot easier to deal with. They're big, imposing centre backs, Virgil van Dijk and Konate. You need someone strong to get about them, a bit like Mitrovic did a couple of seasons ago when we beat them at the Cottage. And Muniz is very much that style of player. I think it'd be a huge mistake to leave him out for this one, but unfortunately, I feel like Marco is kind of making a few mistakes at the moment, so we'll have to see. But yeah, that would be my case for the lineup, and it's a bit different, but that's what I'd like to see. I think that's okay.
I agree with you, Dave. I think that's a good point.
As well.
I would argue that Marco would, because we know he's stubborn and conservative. If he did that, I think he'd do it against a Southampton or something like that, where he feels there's a little less pressure and that they can afford to make a few more mistakes and still try it out. I think it'd be really cool to see ASR on the left wing and Iwobi in the 10. And let's not forget Harry Wilson, when he's back, he plays the 10 for Wales. So we have options. We just have a very stubborn manager who's like, no, you play in this position, and I cannot fathom putting you anywhere else.
Yeah. It takes injuries for Marco to really give players an opportunity in other positions, doesn't it? It's like Cess has got opportunities purely just because there's been Nelson and Wilson around. Yet we all know Cess can play there. We've seen it 5 years ago. But, so I think it's been almost... It's helped Cess, though they've opened the door from him by being injured, and Silva's been had his hand forced, and now we're seeing what he's all about, which is great. But you're right, I can't see Silva trialing anything, particularly against Liverpool. So more likely it would be Willian that would play on the left, but I just would like to see, some of these guys get a chance.
I do think it's a game for Muniz to start. Don't think he will. But I agree with you, like your justification. He absolutely could muscle that back line and cause difficulties for them. And that's what we need to do. I don't think he'll start with him. And I think it's an interesting thought about Diop, because I'm pretty sure Diop played... Was it Diop and Cuenca that played in the away game in the back line? So actually they played there. And Robbo and Castagna... No, Tete, sorry. It was Tete, Diop, Cuenca and Robbo. So very different back line to actually what we're talking about now. Obviously, we conceded 2 goals, but they all played their game, and they played well. So it is a question. I do think it will be Bassi and Anderson, but Diop did play well there last time.
Yeah, Diop played against them. Yeah, Anderson was injured. Bassi was suspended for that one, if I remember. I think he had 5 yellows. Remember Diop playing for them last January in the Cup? I think he scored, didn't he, in the home game, in the Carabao Cup semi-final? I think he scored in the 1-1 home game, bizarrely. So, yeah, he can do that again. I'll be delighted.
That would be good.
Yeah. The last 5 against Liverpool, there's no greens on Jack's chart here. Jack, we're always grateful for you to pull these together, by the way. Does such a lot of work behind the scenes, and we never mention him, so I just wanted to point that out. He puts all this stuff together for us. We don't know what we're doing here. We just pick it all up, and stick it on the screen, and we start chatting. But yeah, shout out to Jack. But last 5, right? We've not had the results really, any wins in there, but there's been some good performances in there.
Yeah, a lot of goals.
Yeah.
Any stand out to you guys?
I'll jump in first. I think the 4-3 is absolute rubbish because all 4 of their goals were worldies from outside the box, and it was like, come on. Like, I remember watching that match, and Bobby Decker-Reed in the 82nd minute, and I'm like, it's finally happening. This is our moment. It's going to be so sweet, especially because I know a couple of guys at work that are big Liverpool fans. Like, I cannot wait to rub it in their face, right? And then while I'm smiling gleefully, bloody Wataru Endo, one of my countrymen, comes and just ruins it for me. Now I'm like, okay, that sucks, but we still got a point, which is respectable. And then who was it? I think was it Jota? Simicast did a foul on Castagna Tete, right? Completely misses the ball and takes him out, and then they score 4-3. And
it was Bobby Reed.
Yeah. Oh, he commits a foul on Reed.
Yeah, Bobby Reed did it away.
How do you miss the ball, take out a defender, and then play gets to continue? What? Anyway, I get it. It's at Anfield. It's a home team. Everyone's cheering them on. Yay.
I remember that. It was Bobby Reed cleared it with his head and then got taken out, and I think the ref just got caught up in the moment and they all just missed it. But it was a clear foul, really frustrating. And then it just when we went there this year, similarly we went up 2-1 quite late, didn't we? It was about the 80th minute when Mooney scored. And normally you'd think, oh my God, we've done it. But because of the year before, what happened then, you still didn't have any confidence that we were going to get away. And they had 10 men. They're a great side. Then as Mary said earlier, Salah, Jota, they're all geniuses. It's going to be a real tough game the weekend. But my God, it would be lovely to finally get that win and put a green on that chart. And then we can all start talking about Europe again. It's all gone a bit quiet on Europe.
Everyone will go really positive.
Yeah.
For 3 days. For a week.
I think we've got a chance of getting a point. I thought we'd get a point against Arsenal actually, but and to be fair, we could have. Ooh. But I have faith that we can get a point in this game on Sunday.
Yeah, I do too in a way. I think we do tend to play better against the bigger sides, don't we? We obviously beat Tottenham a few weeks ago, which seems like months ago now. But it's only a couple of
ages ago.
Yeah, so we do have the players to cause them problems. Just think we've got to get the mentality right, don't we? And we've got to keep it tight, find a way of keeping them out, but also we've got to take our opportunities, which is something we've not done very well this season. Mark, have we? No. So, Tom, what's your prediction then for this one? Do you agree with Mary, or do you think it's going to be a tough afternoon?
Oof. My heart says 1-1, but my head says, probably 3-1. I don't know. I think Alisson is back as well, and that guy is phenomenal. He can do it all. I would have been more positive if they still had Kelleher in goal, because I don't rate him at all. I think the difference between Alisson and Kelleher, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, is the same as the difference between Leno and Benda. I do not rate that guy. I mean, dude, they got knocked out by Portsmouth. Like, I would love to have that guy at all. Muniz can bully him all day, but yeah, I think I just did a quick search and Slot said, Alisson should be ready to go. So that's pretty rough.
Yeah,
That's annoying.
Yeah, not helpful. I actually kind of agree with Mary on this one. I think we've got a chance. I think that, especially if we can get ahead, that's going to be key. If we go behind, I think it could be a long afternoon for us. It'd be tough to come back into a game against Liverpool. I saw a stat on the screen when I was watching them against Everton last night, and when they take the lead, it's something like the last 30 games, they've won 25 of them and drawn 5 or something like that. They don't lose when they go ahead, and it's very hard to get back into the game. We have to take the lead. We have to make the most of our opportunities, and that's why I just really hope we've got the right players on the pitch to cause them problems. I think a big thing will be around. Oh my goodness! Sorry, I'm just going to cut short. Jack is actually just joined us in the chat. Can you
Jack?
believe it? Yeah, about
Good morning.
3 a.m. over in Australia. he's up and he's watching After Dark. I can't
With one
believe
eye open, probably.
Yeah, and he's asking us questions we've already covered, but that's okay because he's only just joined the show. 3:50 a.m. He says, "Yeah, welcome, Jack. You also missed us giving you a little credit for putting the slides together, Jack. So thank you for doing that." Where was I? So Liverpool. We just got to take our chances. I think when we get them on Saturday, and let's. Wow, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that we can.
I think you're right. I think we've got to try and hold them out for as long as we can. I just think I'm still buzzing, by the way, at Jack. To give me a new bit of energy here. But I think we've really got to try and get that lead. With recent games as well, like the Palace game, Arsenal. As soon as we go down, it is a bit more worrying now. Where are we going to get the goal? Whereas before, I actually had full faith we would score whenever we were down pre-Christmas. I was like, it's fine. We will score. But now we're not scoring as many and we are conceding goals. Some of them, I think we're just leaking goals. They are avoidable. Both Arsenal goals that we conceded were avoidable. They came second one from our mistake. And the first one, where it was in a great low block, or a great block, everyone was pretty much behind the ball, and we just should have stopped the forward pass. The initial forward pass, it broke through 3 of us. And I just think a lot of the goals we're conceding, if we could just concentrate that little bit more, especially against these big teams.
Yeah.
And we, like you said, we need to keep them out and give ourselves that chance. But also, we need to get behind them in the hammy ends, everywhere in the ground. We need to get behind them.
Jack's just given us some very disappointing news. Actually, apparently Chris Kavanagh's just been announced as the ref for Sunday. So
I revised my score prediction to 4-0 Liverpool and 2 red cards for Fulham.
Oh God, the odds are stacked against us now. My God. Okay. Well, look, that's an extra complexity to the afternoon, and our good old buddy Chris Kavanagh coming to that's worth the entrance fee, isn't it?
Great guy.
We just got but listen, on a serious point on that, we've got to stop letting decisions and bad refereeing decisions just getting on top of us and just ruining our kind of concentration and our ability to kind of adapt to our game plan. I just think too often when we get a ref like Chris Kavanagh, when we get a ref like Rob Jones, and decisions go our way, everyone starts kicking off, from the fans, the Marco, and we just never react well to that. We never get back in the game. They never turn around and give us a penalty because we're annoyed at them. It's just, there's no need for it. We're better off just backing the players on Saturday and just letting Chris Kavanagh just do what he needs to do as best as he can. And I just encourage the fans not to get on his back and just support the players instead. Would be my view. But just an opinion. It's not, do what you like.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're talking draws. We're talking, it's going to be a tough game, but we think we can get a draw. That's great. And then we've got the running. Okay, so this is what I wanted to talk to you guys about today because it's for the last 7 games now. It's the back end of the season. It's quite a tough running. We've got 45 points at the moment. Our record is 53. We think. Well, I was talking to Fulham Fan News about this on the Discord, and we think around kind of 58 points might be enough this year to get 8th. And it's quite likely now that the 8th place will be good enough for the Conference League. So the conversation's not over. We're just looking at that run-in. Bournemouth away, they're in a little bit of a down at the moment. They've dropped points last night in a game they should have done. You'd expect them to win, losing to Ipswich at home. That's not a good result. They've obviously just been knocked out of the cup at home as well. Could be a pretty good time to play them. I think it's next Monday. It's next Monday week. I think that one, if I'm not mistaken. So you look at that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I think it's on a Monday night. And then we've got Chelsea. And I saw Claire ask this earlier in the chat, Jack. Talking to Jack now, like he's on the grill, like he's on the call.
Jack's on your mind.
Hey, Jack.
Yeah. Mark, can we do the double over Chelsea this year?
Oh, I would love that. That would be a dream come true. Yeah, they're having a bit of a weird season, aren't they? They finally seem to get it together after 2 seasons of just blowing money. And it's all come together a little bit under Enzo. But having said that, yeah, I mean, it's a derby. Who knows what happens in derbies? There's a lot of emotions there. It's at home. That's a huge advantage for us. And yeah, some of their players just haven't really been performing, right? I know in our transfer news, João Felix has been bandied around a lot. Now, actually, I thought he played really well the first time he debuted for them against us, even though he got sent off shortly afterwards. But yeah, having said that, when I look at the overall fixture list, bar maybe Southampton, which karma's going to bite me, we're going to lose to them or draw. But I don't see any easy games. I don't think Bournemouth are soft touch. I don't think Everton under Moyes are soft touch. A lot of these guys are around us or just really hard to beat. Brentford may not be around us, but they're going to do their best as well. So it's going to be tough. But yeah, the double over Chelsea, stuff it greens. Make it happen.
Yeah. I think Villa will be in the cup semi-final around the time we play them as well, which may mean they might have one eye on that game, maybe one eye on the Champions League semi-final as well. So some of these games, they look tough, but they might fall at good opportunistic times for us. So I think there's a long way to go, and we're certainly not out of the run-in, I don't think, for not only our best ever finish, but also a European push. I just noticed the time, and we've got a couple of questions that have been fired in over from Discord and on X. I've sent them over to Mark to read them out. So, Mark, would you mind giving us the 2 best ones that we received today?
All right, this is my moment. All right, so the first one we have from Jim. Have we got fan ambitions bigger than the club can realize? Put it out to whoever wants to speak first. But great question. Fantastic question.
There's a lot to that, isn't
question.
So I think it's kind of the fans' prerogative to always push the club forward, right? And want us to be ambitious and, successful. So, I think the fans should always be pushing the club that way. Do we need to be more realistic about the challenges with PSR? The limitations of, our income against some of the incomes of some of the bigger teams. Maybe we do. But I do think we should always push for more. Because I think if we didn't, we could get left behind. The Premier League is it's relentless, and every summer teams just get better and better and better. Actually, it's a great question for you, Mark, because you've got gripes at the Cards and our lack of spend. So, I mean, why don't you tell us what you think about that?
Give me my 30 seconds of fame, please. I think the Khans are the only people here who are unambitious. And I know it means sound ungrateful, but we know Marco's ambitious. I'm sure the players are ambitious. They get good opportunities to either make more money or move to a bigger team, right? And we are ambitious because we remember getting to the Europa League final. We want to get there again. We want to push onwards. Every fan's ambitious. It's really striking to me how, yes, we make really good signings, right? And we make good signings at a good price as well, which is important and impressive, and it makes the club sustainable. But yeah, we saw what Forest did. They were dreadful for 2 seasons in a row, but they spent enough money. They got the right manager. They found their identity, and now they're flying. And I really feel like this season is a missed opportunity because I find it highly unlikely that Tottenham, United, and West Ham will be this crap next season. At least one of them will be better, right? And that just makes the competition harder all over again. Having said that, maybe we could be considered overperforming. Maybe Forest could be considered overperforming, but they've capitalized and we haven't. And that's, I think, my main gripe with it. But yeah, what do you think, Mary? Do you think the fans are maybe asking for too much, or I'd be interested to hear your take on it as well.
I'd say I agree with what you're saying. We've missed opportunities. Well, firstly, didn't expect us actually to be this high up. Did any of us expect us to get all the results we got? No, none of us did. But then when that starts happening, our ambitions they increase. And it's exciting. As fans, we've got to back our team, and we want to. And we obviously want to see them win every game. We want to see them play well, even if we don't win. We want to see good performances, and we want to have ambitions. It's fun for us, like the atmosphere against Palace on Sunday, because we want to, we want to be in that at Wembley. We want to be in that FA Cup semi-final and then final. We're ambitious, so the atmosphere was good, but we missed that opportunity as well. And like you say, I don't see Man United, Spurs, all of them being where they are this year, next year. But then equally, we need the Khans back in because there's only so much we can do as fans.
Yeah.
We do need them. We need the money, but it's out of our control, unfortunately. But I don't think as fans we should stop pushing our ambitions where they are. I think we are realistic, to be honest. I don't think we're saying something that can't happen. I don't think we're saying something that's unrealistic. We're actually probably surprised we were where we were, and then we've absolutely backed the boys and Marco to try and keep pushing what we can achieve. And we've just got the Riverside just been done, so the Khans should be thinking, right, we've got the Riverside sorted, we've got the fans with us, we've got a fantastic manager, we've got players we can keep developing, let's add to it and let's keep this club a top half team.
Yeah, great point. I mean, couldn't have said it better myself. I think, a lot of the pieces are in place, right? And yeah, it's just that final little step and a little bit of luck, and I think some real magic can happen. One more for Townsend. We got, how difficult is it, rather, for a team to snap out of a dip in mentality? Can the boys find the fight for the rest of the season, or will the loss to Palace have taken it out of them? Also, how much will burnout be a factor towards the end of the season? I think we talked about burnout a little bit when we're overplaying players, but I think the first bit of the question is really interesting, the loss to Palace. And I think Silva mentioned it, didn't he, in his press conference? Like, the fans are down, the boys are down. I think everyone really expected more, wanted more. Obviously, credit to Palace. They played their game plan to perfection, and they're not a shabby side. They're a very good side, defensively solid, and they have star power in attack. But yeah, what are your thoughts on mentality? I'll open up to Dave as well, even though you are in fact not Townsend.
Oh no, let Mary take the direction for Mary. And actually, it's a great question for Mary too. So I really would like to hear her answer on this.
Yeah.
It's definitely, football's an emotional game, whether you're a player or a fan. And I think a game like the Palace game, there was so much emotion in it. So it's even more disappointing for us as players. They'll be even more disappointed, and as fans, that we we're disappointed because you can't have another go at that. You know, like in the league, if you lose a game, it's not nice. It's disappointing. It does hit your mentality, but you've got more league games to keep going. Whereas that FA Cup game is hard hitting for all of them because, of course, we all wanted to get to Wembley and we all wanted to push on further than we've done for the last few years, or for a while. But you've just got to move on, and I think that's something that I respect my manager. Like, as me as a player, I respect my manager so much in the way he helps us to move on from a loss. And I think if you've got the right management and the right characters in your team and the right leadership in your team, then you do just move on to the next game, not in like a cold way, but it hurts if you lose a game, and the boys will absolutely be hurting from that Palace game. And Arsenal, it's gutting because actually we were coming back into the game, and they will feel disappointed because we possibly could have pushed for a draw if we had 10 more minutes. But you just have to bounce back, and I don't think it will be a reason to start dropping more and more points. I think Marco's someone that is a firm believer from observing things that, okay, that game's happened. We'll reflect on it for a period of time, and then that's done. We move on. You learn from it. You'll never forget a game. We don't forget games as fans, but you have to move on. So I don't think, yes, disappointing. Yes, the mentality will be tough to bounce back initially from those games, but then you do, and it should make them have more desire for this week, and I think it will. I think they'll have more desire to be at the Cottage and really take the game to Liverpool. But it's a good question, and it's fair point. Like it is, no one wants to lose a game, so you have to be the right character, and I think the team around you and your staff are really important for that, for keeping you going.
Brilliant. That is a great question. Well done. I think it was W Worth K from our Discord that asked that, and I'm not sure they may well be following along tonight. I haven't identified W Worth K, but he asked a great question tonight. And Mary, thanks for that. That was brilliant. Right, so we've talked about Liverpool. I think we've done a pretty good job. We've got record numbers watching us tonight, which is fantastic. So, Mark, you've brought the viewers, man. You've given the people what they want.
No, I've got to give it to Sober Dave. Sober Dave. He's done it as well as Townsend, of course. I'm just here in my colourful shirt, so. Yeah,
maybe they had Jack when Jack came on. I think that might have peaked the viewership. Who knows? But yeah, it's been a good night, and I feel positive for the weekend. Now I'm actually looking forward to it in a weird way. Maybe it's a sadistic way, but I am quite looking forward to it. I hope we can turn up and at least give them a game and be competitive. Great to take points off Liverpool, but you know, we can only hope. And yeah, those questions that came in today, one was from the Discord group. There's a link in our pod description, how to join that. It's absolutely kicking off at the moment. So much activity in there, which is great. Loads of new members. So please jump aboard. Links to our other social groups are within the pod description. And yeah, make sure to download the pod too on Apple or on Spotify or whatever you use. And you know, you can always watch the show back on YouTube as well if you don't watch live. So yeah, and we'll be coming back again next Monday, I think, Sunday game. So we'll be going back on Monday to review the Liverpool game. And yeah, just like to thank everyone for joining us today. As I said, record viewership, great activity in the chat. Thanks to everyone. There's a few questions that came in late we didn't get to, but we're just kind of we're over it now. We're on the clock. But great questions. I mean, maybe we'll pick them up next week, I think. Mark, brilliant. Thanks for joining us. As I said, you brought the numbers.
Always a pleasure, Dave. Always happy to ruminate and spread my thoughts.
Brilliant. And Mary, as I said, great to meet you finally last Saturday, and thanks for
that was fun.
Your insight today. Brilliant.
No, it was good. Good to hang out last week, and hopefully more games at the Cottage we can meet up. But yeah, I think we just got to embrace this last bit of the season. There's stuff to play for. There's positions to play for. It's close in that chunk that we're in the league, and I think as fans we've just got to embrace it. We've got to enjoy the competition and just get behind the boys every game and see where it takes us. Whatever happens, we've done better than we've probably experienced for a long time. We're not in that like relegation battle, so I think let's just enjoy this next run of games. Hopefully we get a bit more consistency, but if not, overall it's been much more positive. So yeah, I'm finishing today feeling good vibes, and I'm excited for Sunday.
Yeah, me too. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us. We're back on Monday. And Mary, if you can see us out as normal.
As always, you right.